will bring us in and get us started. Welcome to Deep Night Revelation. We're going to be picking up where we left off last week. Last week, where we left off, these guys were in the... Where were you guys? You guys were in the DSR-12 system, which was another small rogue gas giant. They had been hopping, doing the longest deep space refueling run in known recorded history, at least for what they know is recorded history. And they had jumped across several comets, a couple of rogue gas giants, and they're still picking their way across the Great Rift. And when they got to DSR 12, some of the flight crew decided to have a regatta along one of the moons, and they had this elaborate race course laid out, and this gave Pappy a chance to, pun intended, spread his wings, and there was this big race, and come to find out, the captain of the ship, Captain Belmont, was partaking in the race as well, and they beat everybody. And so, part of this regatta, in the process of it, they really learned some valuable information about the actual wear and tear on the small craft, and in lieu, also the scout ships that are aboard Revelation. And we're not talking about... it's not stuff that's really easy to fix, because we're simply talking about flight hours. And, if you have a ship that is rated, a normal boat that might be rated for 16,000 flight hours, after, 6 years, or 5 3/4 years, you might be, and as often as they're having to use these small craft, these boats and pinnaces are looking, instead of 16,000 hours, they're looking at 25,000 hours. And so shit just wears out and breaks down. So the plan, where we left off, is that when this came to light, is that the captain and the first officer told our mission crew here that to see to it that some kind of plan was put forth to basically refit all of these craft. And that's something that may or may not be doable, but we'll get into that. Before we get started, we'd like to bring your attention to the fact that we have a Zazzle store. It is just small merchandise. We've got hoodies and t-shirts and buttons. There's a beer stein. There's Whiskey Rocks glass, which I'm needing to order one because I myself want one. All sorts of stuff. And 100% of the proceeds from that store goes back into our channel. It helps cover things like the Roll20 Pro subscription, our Incarnate Pro subscription for making maps. It even helped cover the yearly subscription for Wondershare Filmora, which we use to make these videos. And if you would like to help out and help us make ends meet with that, we would really appreciate it. Go over to the Zazzle store and get yourself a t-shirt and a button, and we appreciate everything you do for us. All right, so where we left off, you guys are kind of, at this point, you're kind of looking things over on the flight deck, and the crew chief, deck chief, comes up and kind of shows you a list of things that came out of the regatta, and kind of brings to light some of the normal wear and tear issues that you're seeing on the craft. Now, of course, you are down one pinnace, or is it 2 boats? One pinnace and a boat? Anyways, that were essentially scrapped for parts to make boosters. Actually, no, you weren't completely down. Those birds were put back together. Yes, so you're not down any boats. But they are seeing wear and tear. And the deck chief uh, basically says that the situation, we need to be careful. They are getting up there in flight hours. We don't have anywhere to replace them, obviously. And he says we can start doing some refits, but that's going to take a couple of things. First of all, it will take up a majority of our exotic materials that we've collected through mining efforts. So the first chance we get, we're going to want to find someplace else. This particular system doesn't really have anything of major value, so he's hoping that there's always that hope that the next jump will. Oh boy, this is sounding like a Quantum Leap episode. That next jump will bring me home. The next jump will get you more exotic materials, or there will be something hopeful. And he says that, but he can get started. And so he wants to know what your preference is for where to start. Obviously, I mean you can pull rank and you could say, well, we want you to start on one of the scout ships. Of course, that is an option. Or you could tell them to start on the smallest craft, which would be the boats, and then work up to the pinnaces. However you want to do it. So, what would you like to see happen?
I think we use boats first.
What did you say?
I would suggest the highest use boats.
Yeah,
first.
I was thinking along the same line. I was thinking the ones that are broke the most, or the most used, most worn, most flawed. Start with them, and we'll just maybe only go half rotation on the boats and ships. Let's only use half of the ones we got. And use the best ones, and then the worst ones we'll have them retrofit, refit, and that way we only use half of our exotic materials, and then when the half that we get refixed up are fixed, we'll switch them to the main operation, and then we'll take then we'll do the others.
So
so that way if an emergency comes up that we need those exotic materials, we'll be holding on to them as long as possible. Because phase 1 will only use half of them, and then phase 2 will drain it out, and then by the time that all happens, maybe we can find a replenished supply of exotic materials.
I just moved the map over. This is the deck plan for a Deepnight utility boat. And then popping up should be the stats for the Deepnight boat. So these are the smallest of the small craft. They're essentially like the shuttlecraft that you would know and love from Star Trek, right? They only have eight D-tons of cargo space, but they are mostly just for shuttling from ship to surface kind of situation. They don't even have any fixed mounts for weapons. They are completely unarmed. They have no armor. Thrust 4 though, they're pretty quick. The biggest problem with the boats, and the deck chief will point this out. So in the picture on the stats from the journal, those wings are not always out. Those wings are retractable. In fact, they sitting in their cradles in the hangar pod, they essentially look like a tube with engines. The wings are extended for atmospheric entry into basically planetary landings. That constant, we do a lot of planetary landings. I mean, we just do. I mean, think how many times you guys had to set down, and that's just your ship. That's not the fleet of small craft that have gone about it. That in and out is murder. Ask any ask any naval airplane mechanic how he feels about the variable wing on like the F-14 Tomcat, and they will tell you that it is a fucking nightmare. Even worse is like the Osprey. That variable technology is a fail point. And so he says that is, for the deep night boats, that is the biggest thing. That is relatively an easy fix, though, as far as manufacturing parts and hinges and springs and all the mechanicals that go into that process. That's relatively easy stuff. Engines and maneuver drives and things of that nature, upgrade or refitting atmospheric system or life support systems. That's probably a little bit more complicated, but that's probably the easiest place to start. The next one, this is the deck lamp for the Deepnight pinnace. Now, these are frequently used, especially for planetary landings, and the reason is because they have a 20-ton cargo space, and these ships can ferry down ground vehicles like the Vendara or the Scarier or even the I forget the name of it, the ATV. So these are also in high demand. So if you're talking about just the small craft, of course, the deep night boats would be the logical place if you're wanting to get the most bang for your buck. The deep night utility boats would be the logical place to start. But don't count out the pinnace because it is most useful for depositing ground craft. And then,
I mean, do they have to do like all the boats, and then why can't they do like one boat, one pinnace, and one scout, and then when they're done with those three, rotate them in and out?
So you are talking about. Hold on here. I'll tell you. It says. I know that it says. So there are 12 20-ton boats on each of the Ford pod caps. There are, so that's a total of 40. There are 8 60-ton pinnaces on each side. So we were talking 16, and then there are 3 3 200-ton scouts on each side. 8. Oh, with an additional scout and docking bays. So there are 8 of these 200-ton jump-capable scouts, which are the ones that you guys usually use. That would be Desinex. So, I mean, you're talking about a lot of vehicles that are all getting used up, and it's not like they only launch 1 or 2 at a time. I mean, standard procedure when you guys come out of jump is to launch probably anywhere from 4 to 6 pinnaces, probably several of the boats, probably anywhere between 5 and 10 of the boats. And this is every single time. And plus any additional mission craft such as yourselves if something is found or needs to be investigated. So now, how many of these can he do? He can do. If you wanted to get started, like I said, on just the boats, out of the 40, he can refit 10 of the boats and can get started on it immediately. Now, they will be down for a total of 12 weeks. They'll be out of action.
Why don't they do it by pods? Like the scouts, the pinnace, the boats, and like pod number 1, do all of those, and then we go to pod 2, and then they do all the boats, all the pinnace, all the scouts of that, and then repeat.
Okay, so that, of course, is an option. This is the Ford main hangar pod. Now, actually, let's see something. There might be... might have found... no, I didn't. 20. Yeah, so right here, this is one of the Ford caps. So this is, what, 20 of these sitting here? 20 of these utility boats in this Ford pod cap. And if that's the case, okay, what's going on here? There we go. E. Okay, so this is a Marines barracks on the other side. Interesting. So there's barracks over here. And then on deck 2, fuel distribution system. These are fuel tanks. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you could have them start, pick port or starboard and just start working pods, working their way back. Start with the Ford pod caps, then move over here to the hangar pods, pick a side, and work their way back, finally ending with the mission pods, right? Yes. Mission pods, which would would potentially down here get you guys your ship back in line.
And I think that's the way to lessen the impact is make all 3 classes share the load. I mean, that's what I think.
But
I agree.
The issue, though, it doesn't change the issue of the fact that right now, so let's say that they do start on that Ford pod cap, they do not have enough exotic material, basically raw ore and components, to do more than 10 of the 20 small craft that are sitting in that pod.
Well, then, they got to do what they can do, and we will search for more resources to do more.
Okay, he's just letting you know that. I mean, no matter how you want him to start, if he's starting in that pod, either way, it's going to be utility boats, and he can only do 10 of them, and they'll be down for 12 weeks.
Well, all right. I mean, better start the clock on that 12 weeks now and get started.
Right.
It won't be any better 10 weeks from now if you start. It will be worse situation. So
right.
Whichever pod has the most
I mean, if
shit to fix.
if you were
Start there.
if you were to start on the Ford hanger pods and start with the pinnaces, he'd only have enough materials to start working on 5 of them.
Right.
So either way, you know.
I mean, yeah, that's fine with me. I mean, like if he's only got enough to do 10 pods or 5 pinnaces, then he can do 2 pinnaces and maybe 5 boats. Spreading the load.
Right. Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying. I mean, the resources are finite. I understand that. We'll provide a list of the materials we need, and we will hunt for them. And then when you run out of something, you run out.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, try to take like maybe 5% of the exotic resources and put them in a safe location, and those will be our emergency things. So that way, if something happens that is detrimental to Deepnight itself, to fix that, I'd like to save 5% just in case.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does everybody kind of agree?
Sense.
I can go along with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, because the trap I see is we go, yeah, man, fix all the fucking boats or fix all the pit, don't make a fuck, and then you're out of resources, and then all of a sudden you're gonna come and go, the fucking toilets don't work on Deepnight anymore, and can't nobody take a shit, and you don't have exotic materials.
Well, let's figure out a rotation that we're happy with. That's a permanent solution, and then what it's going to require on a weekly, monthly basis, so we have a general idea of what prioritize in terms of mining.
So he has already taken the probably, aside from you guys, the least used ships are the scouts. You haven't had a whole lot of reason to use more than a couple of those 200-ton scouts. So he's taken the most pristine of those. There's at least one that hasn't been flown since you left dry dock originally, all the way back at the beginning. And he has moved that to your hangar bay in the mission pods. And then, of course, on the opposite side, he's moved the second best to that hangar pod. And so the rest are in their normal bays. They're down in this section of the flight pods.
Cool.
So he will get started on that, and Deepnight is going to make a jump. Where I'm at here.
Oh, we get to go to a different map, motherfuckers.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is 12. All right. So they are going to make a 3 parsec jump over to what they are calling DSS 6. Deep Space System 6. Long range scans are looking really promising. So, and this is people are this week in jump. People aboard the ship, morale seems to be higher. They are really excited for this because long range telemetry from 3 parsecs. That's I'm eyeballing this here, but that's what 15 to 17 light years away. What they're seeing is this is a system that is based around an A5 white main sequence star. and it looks to be a complete system. And they have already, at long range, detected that there's a gas giant there, which, of course, that's why they're going there, because it's a refueling point. But people are excited because there's a full system, and for the most part, you've seen for the past what 2-3 months have seen nothing but rogue gas giants and comets and a comet that was broken up and another comet and more comets and another rogue gas giant. So this is this is lifting spirits. They're actually going to see some sunlight on their face. So, what are you guys doing in your week of jump?
I am doing ship's mental health.
Okay.
I'd like to focus on the mechanics and engineering crew this week because they're being taxed so hard with the retrofits. I want to make sure that they're doing a good job and are at their best to do that.
I'm going to start trying to train vac suit again.
Okay.
So if, third time will be at the charm.
Okay.
I've got a fairly decent skill at mechanic. Can I assist with the maybe speeding along some of the overhaul of some of these ships?
You can certainly help out. If you don't want to add to your study period, you can go ahead and make a mechanic plus. Make a mechanic plus your choice, either intellect or education.
That's not a tough choice.
Right.
Oh, that's the best I could do.
That's okay. So over the course of a week, you do help out quite a bit. You don't come up. I mean, if the roll was higher, there was a possibility you could have come up or found something that would have made things easier. But you assist in helping to put together these boats. I will say I don't know what you are currently studying, but I would say that part of this, if you wanted to, could go towards training of, say, engineering. Your choice, either engineering maneuver drive or engineering life support or engineering power. Any of those, you could put a week's worth of training into.
Okay, well, I'm currently studying explosives.
In fact, I'd say 2 weeks worth of training because you're hanging out with the deck crew. So, I mean,
So I've already got power and M drive. What was the first one you said? I should have wrote
there
it
is
down.
M drive, life support, and power.
I'll put 2 weeks towards life support.
Okay. So they essentially have you in the forward pod cap, basically running life support lines and attenuating filters and all of this other, what many people might consider to be rather boring work, and you are doing a rather good job with it. And in the whole of it, learning quite a bit. Sarda, where does that put you at with your
My first 1 week.
1 week?
I now have 1 week of training. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. We've got a ways to go.
I made my roll last time and failed. And
Right.
so.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It always sucks when somebody fails after waiting so long, but
This is my second failure on this one.
yeah, it is.
And I've got to make 2 successes to complete it.
It is a built-in fail-safe so that characters don't go off the rails and kind of level up too quick. That's what I've learned. I had to learn it the hard way. Bocephus, you can go ahead and make a science psychology plus intellect or education check. Actually, no, it would be science psychology plus education. If you were guessing, I would say it would be intellect, but you're not.
14.
Okay. So you do your counseling sessions with the crew. Like I said, this is it. These sessions are your counseling sessions are confirming that most of the crew are upbeat about DSS 6. They are really looking for. Man, it's going to be. Yeah, it would be. I guess not 2 or 3 months. I guess it would be about. Yeah, no, it's about 2 or 3 months since anybody actually saw an actual star. So they're pretty stoked about it. A lot of the crew are expressing hope to you that there's actually a planet that we can set foot on. There is still talk of these other factions. Well, not other factions. There is, of course, kind of the usual group of factions, but then there is the group that some of the crew wants to turn around and go home. Some of the crew wants to keep going, but you're finding that there is a lessening of random talk about that in lieu of the level of hope for basically getting off ship and touching grass in DSS 6 is what the hope is.
Okay.
Did you want to tweak or adjust that with your empathy, or
Well,
just write it out?
The people that are talking about they want to turn and go home, I want to try to give them a suggestion.
Okay.
That they want to go to Terminus Point. That seems like the best solution for me.
Okay. So let's see. It says it's not. Oh, that's the bill. It says unless the suggestion is plainly harmful. Like, there's a good chance it's harmful, and everybody knows it. Or inaccurate.
It's not suicidal,
it's not
though.
Suicidal.
I'm basically saying think the way that you thought when you first, signed up.
Yeah, go ahead and make your psionics check.
I made that 12, motherfucker.
You barely made it. Yes. So yes, it is. You plant this suggestion, and in the course of several of these counseling sessions that with these individuals, you plant that suggestion, and you end those particular sessions on a hopeful note, and kind of you're not removing the desire to turn around and go home. That is probably by this point too deeply ingrained, or the fear of continuing on. Meanwhile, while you have small craft that the bolts are falling out of them from too many hours in flight, etc. But they're leading in that direction of, well, we've made it this far, let's keep going, kind of resignation.
Yeah, maybe I need to start and just maybe the best. Well, no. Maybe I ought to fucking switch tactics and go to the there is no going home. We're all gonna die. We might as well save, the Imperium and everything in the process.
Wow. I don't.
I'm just toying with it now. But
Yeah,
as,
I don't
as
know that adding to their depression level is a good idea. Like, just accept your fate.
well, I mean, as things become more volatile and unstable, I have to come up with plans on, what
Right.
to do. I guess it's harder to talk us into turning around and going home the further we go, though. So we'll
So
see.
the week comes to an end with you guys coming out of uh, jump in the DSS-6 system. Immediately, of course, you realize there is a number of things here. There's a planetary belt. There is very close to this A5 star. There is a large gas giant, but telemetry. Well, let me roll for them people. Yeah. So initial scans come in. This large gas giant here is way too hot. It's very close to the star, and it is way too hot. It would be dangerous to do any skimming there. However, as the resolution increases, you get more data. And this is the system scan summary of everything that's in here. So Planet 2 is coming back as a high-density terrestrial planet. Has a thick atmosphere composed primarily of carbon dioxide and nitrogen, but there is some traces of oxygen in the air. And initial scans from the pinnaces that have gotten closer is suggesting that there is some microbial activity, but they're not detecting, at least from orbit, any signs of advanced life. But the most common life form that they're seeing across the planet, I can show you what the planet looks like. It looks like that. What they are seeing is that the planet seems to be, every surface on the planet seems to be covered by a lichen or similar type of organism. Seems to be the dominant life form. Grows on literally every surface and just creates a rather unpleasant landscape painted in tones of brown, green, dull yellow, and a dark orange. Surface gravity is 2.1 Gs, which, you guys, having stepped on the surface of a frozen star, you've seen worse. It is tolerable for a short time, but any vehicles that are down on the planet, they're going to have to be real careful because at 2.1 Gs, a minor dip or a rut in the road, all of that is compounded, and so it can be detrimental to suspension systems or what have you. They'll have to adjust the lifters on the Vendaras if they take one of those down, kind of situation. However, the science team is hopeful because, and let's see, how hopeful are they? They are hopeful because because it is a high density terrestrial world with a high gravity. That means that there are, in most cases, there are going to be rare materials that are just sitting there in the crust. And so the science team thinks that there could be deposits of these materials easily obtainable. And I can show you. This is a world map that comes up from scans with all of the pertinent information. And it's just a big brown smear. The science team also brings up that the lichen and microbiological life on the world could, I mean, there could be medicinal purposes to much of it. So, um, of course, the science team is shit hot ready to get down there and start poking around. Um, it's up to you guys, though, whether that's something you want.
I think we ought to take our scout ship that's pretty much brand new, and go on a look see. If we can find some rare or exotic materials that we need for the retrofits, I mean, we're kind of forced to try to retrieve them. As far as medicines or whatnot, I mean, that's not a high priority really. So,
I
yeah.
mean, you're a doctor; it should be a high priority to you.
As long as I got a replicator and the ability to make prosthetics, fuck it. I'll cyborg this career. No, but seriously, I mean, if I do find things that I need to replenish the medicines, of course that's beneficial. But I mean,
Yeah, and I mean,
if we don't have ships and boats, we die. If we don't have a topped off medical thing, some of us might die. So
standard and it's up to you. That up as well. The standard fitting in the cargo hold for a vehicle is usually one of these. It is a Scarier. And the reason why they're standard is because their shipping weight's only 4 tons, but it only has a crew of 2. So these are fast little scout cars.
we don't even need to land. I mean, really, I mean, can't we just stay around and fly around first and do a bunch of scans and try to find things that, I mean, the exotic materials? I mean,
you can, but
really
I mean, if you're going to pick any of them up, I mean, you don't have a choice. At some point, if you're going to have to mine if you want to pick those up. So
yeah.
that means somebody's going to have to get out of a boat and go do some mining. And that's going to take a couple of days, of course. But the other option, of course, for the scout ship is the Vendara, which is an air raft, either in a configuration like an ATV or a flatbed configuration. Of course, if you're doing scouting missions, you want the full compartment for ATV. And this takes up 12 tons of space, but you've got 17 scouts now.
So what, we could take
either one.
A couple. I guess we take one of each. If we need them, we'll use them. But
well, you can't. So there is the scare. You have 17 tons of space.
And what do you get?
So Scout, Deepnight Scout. Yeah, has cargo space of 17 tons. The Scarier only weighs 4 tons of shipping weight, and the Vendara is 12 tons. So you have to pick one or the other. The Vendara will allow for all of you to ride in comfort. The Scarier will not. People are gonna if you take the Scarier, people are gonna have to either walk or stay on ship.
But we can put. I mean, the Vendara has 12 tons of
shipping weight. That's how much it's going to take up in your cargo hold.
Well, how much cargo space does it have? It says varies.
Yeah, it does vary because, so for instance, let me bring the Vendara back up. So what varies about it, you have your choice. You can either have a crew of 2 and a flatbed, hence your cargo space, or, and Here's the Vendera. It says. So the rear compartment can be configured as either an enclosed, environmentally controlled passenger area or an open working cargo crew space. There are 14 spaces in this area that can be allocated to passengers or cargo at the rate of a quarter ton per space. In addition, whether it is open or closed configuration, the rear area of the Vendera can be set up with atmospheric and mineral sampling equipment, additional lab space, often optimized for life sciences and biological research, or other equipment. Installing or removing major equipment items requires a visit to the workshops aboard Revelation or the cooperative efforts of a skilled team on the ground. So, what I'm saying is, if you take the truck style, you have the same problem that you have with the Scarier. Only 2 people can go out in it. You take the one with the compartments and the lab space, and everybody can ride in it, and nobody has
I
to
think
walk.
we want to take that. And I mean, the wheeled vehicle might be better off for the extra gravity, but with the terrain being a big unknown and fucked up, a raft is way more versatile. And with the lab testing equipment and shit, you
True.
know, we can probably figure out what the fuck we want to mine better.
And so then the question is, does any of you have Flyer Graph?
Have what now?
The skill Flyer Grav, or just Flyer? It's 0.
Oh no.
No, of course I don't have that. Let me guess, Pappy took them.
Probably.
Wes is looking over his character.
Yeah, now going over
Does
to
Stimpy have it?
nope. They're gonna have to send us a
They can send you a pilot, or they can send you a driver. So this is Planet 2. The science team is excited about Planet 2. The other planet, they're even more excited about. Initial scans are showing a green world. And the sensor operators are already coming back and calling it DTP, or referring to it as DTP. When asked what DTP means, their rather morbid sense of humor comes through. That the sensor operator tells you it stands for Death Trap, probably. But it looks like an inviting paradise. Fluffy clouds, vibrant mix of blue and green, suggesting that a world is rich in life. The scans are coming back with even more promising things. They're finding, show you planetary map. So they are finding rather diversified continents and oceans. Does appear to be several species of megafauna, notably something that looks like a long-necked, oversized, shaggy bear that seems to be native to the northern forest. They are also seeing evidence of something that looks for all the world like a woolly mammoth, and they see great herds of these things. They are detecting another species that appears to be out of Terra's ancient prehistory, that for all the world appears to be Smilodon, saber-toothed tigers that seem to be roaming much of the world. Likely, of course, being predators to these large woolly mammoths. The initial analysis can suggest that gravity is a comfortable 0.97 Gs. The mean temperature is a bit high. There is extensive ocean coverage that results in humid and often downright wet climate, especially in the western side of the continents. The seas are rather turbulent. There are vigorous currents that carve deep water channels in them. Ferocious rainstorms can be witnessed from orbit and are not uncommon, but it seems to be off that this rather shitty weather is offset by tremendously lush countryside. They have noticed a couple of points of interest, and those being that there does appear to have been, at some point in the distant past, some habitation. Here in what they are calling the Menagerie Plains, and they're calling it that because this is a point where several of the different areas seem to converge. And the Menagerie Plains, they are seeing that there may be evidence of what may have been an outpost or a city that seems to be poking up through hundreds or possibly even thousands of years worth of silt and vegetation, but there is definitely something there. The other area that looks promising, let me find it, over in this area, they're calling it the High Valley. At some point in the recent past, or when they say recent past, talking about tens of thousands of years, a titanic landslide appears to have blocked the lower eastern entrance of the valley, kind of creating a sort of landlocked island surrounded by mountain peaks. There are multiple small rivers flowing to a lake at its center with extensive marshlands across the banks. The lake has 3 large islands, each surrounded by a curiously regular set of underwater rock formations. There are indications that the area may be metal rich, possibly with radioactive chemicals. Radioactive elements. This is particularly true of the eastern end of the valley, where the background radiation seems to be highest. And then last but not least is this area here in the north, which they're calling it Really Big Marsh, mostly because the scientists that originally named it had a rude expletive for the name. That is fed by Big Marsh River, again, a really terrible expletive. And this shows where the water from the Menagerie Plains flows down into the sea, and kind of the fringe terrain and pockets of forest, very diverse life. Everything that they're saying, if we wanted to rebuild our stores of food, the initial indications are that this planet is suitable to human and so on digestive systems.
It seems like a good place to ditch the people that we've been holding, waiting on a place that we could ditch them. And with the idea that there's old outposts or something here, I mean, that is another thing. Replenishing the food stores is a thing. And then on the other planet, we can do exotic materials. I think we ought to take some time here and mine and investigate this stuff. I mean, even if it's a couple of months, whatever, enough to get all our little ships refitted and the stuff we need for that, and our food, and give people a chance just to not be in space for an extended period of time. I think that'll help.
Yeah.
I don't know what everybody else thinks. But.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. We've definitely got people freaking out. That's been pissing me off. And so time off is probably our best bet.
So this
Yeah.
actually, and I don't know why they did it this way, but they labeled this 5. It's not. It's Planet 2, and then of course DTP, the Garden World is here. So where do you guys want? How do you guys want to do this? Do you want to investigate the terrestrial, high density terrestrial first, or do you want to send a team and you guys investigate DTP? How do you want to do this?
What are we going to refuel on? Is it the number?
I mean,
Number one?
so Revelation could go ahead and refuel here at this small gas giant, kind of putting you in between, or putting themselves in between the two orbits.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah. And then, I mean, everything that we're really focusing on is on planet 4 and 5, blue or brown dot, however you want to do it. And I do think that if we've got, we should at least send a boat around that asteroid belt and look for exotic minerals or anything in there that are easier to mine than on the really dense planet. Just on an offshoot. I mean,
Yeah, you can do that as well.
that's yeah.
So,
But as far as the crew, I mean, God, I gotta think an archaeological site is more exciting than fucking minerals and mining.
probably true. So, where do you guys want to focus first?
4,
Okay.
all right?
Yeah. Let's do 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're going down to DTP.
Down to party. Yeah.
yeah.
So next on the question list.
And we've got a mission commander that has some good experience that can go do mining, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You've got geological scientists and all of that can handle taking over the reins for doing mining and things of that nature. Plus, there are members of the science team that want to go down there and, of course, pick up samples of the lichens and microbiological life on the high density terrestrial world. They're perfectly happy doing that. But on DTP, so this southern continent is the most interesting. You've got 3 sites here. This is the High Valley. This is the Menagerie Plains, and then this is the really big marsh. Which site do you want to investigate? Now, the High Valley, of course, is very interesting because there is possibilities of radio radioactive elements there, and so there is a high suspicion that there is likely it could be a good site for mining in and of itself. There's also these weird stone, oddly similar in shape and size, stone islands in the middle of the lake there. It is in a valley that is enclosed by mountains and a landslide, and that valley is heavily forested, so it would be likely a drop, basically
And
hovering and dropping you in, and then picking you up after you radio that you're done.
that's here,
That's this first. Yes, that is the High Valley.
and that's the radioactive one.
Well, there is nothing dangerous. There is
So.
evidence of possible radioactive elements. The highest
And
readings
then-
are appearing from the east side of the valley.
And then this one is what looks like old ruins of a settlement or an outpost.
Correct. There is signs that there is some evidence that suggests that the Menagerie Plains was the site of a city.
Okay. And this is just looks like where the shit's been rolling downhill.
Yes,
And-
that is the really big marsh that ends up dumping out into the sea.
Right, and it's kind of listed as a camp.
More or less, yes.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm guessing is some kind of ship probably wrecked right here and did a big crater, and the motherfuckers moved to right over here, and that might be a secondary camp ruin thing. So I don't care. I've been talking a lot, making a lot of calls, so I'm not going to do that on this.
It's up to you guys. Wherever you want to land.
Yeah. Jack or Will have to pick that. Don't be shy.
I think the High Valley sounds the most interesting, but
Yep, that sounds good to me.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
I know I talk a lot, and I'm kind of, I like to say what I'm thinking, but I don't want to railroad or take over. I'm not the leader, so
No, I'm happy to let you take the lead today. Go.
My brain hurts.
yeah, you're gonna wait. Yeah,
It's been a rough week.
I hear you.
You know, I was thinking about that earlier today. I'm like, it's only been a week, right? Because it feels like it's been 2 weeks. It's the last time we played. It's just been like a really busy, long week, and yeah, it has been. It has been. But so this is, of course, a flyover orbital view of the High Valley, and so this, of course, is the landslide zone. It could have happened anywhere between 10 and 100,000 years ago, but for some reason, the mountains collapsed here and kind of cut this valley off from the rest of the continent. And so it is its own little ecosystem built in here, heavily forested. But then what they're calling the lake cities, because these, closer that you fly over, you are seeing that there are some signs of possible ruins on these little islands that are here too. The way the islands are set up, it suggests that this is a fairly shallow lake. There is no place to land in the forest. This whole area. I mean, they could theoretically set down, in the lake and let you guys disembark that way, but there's no way they're going to be over here. The one suggestion that Pappy comes up with, of course, is that he can fly over and you guys can, do the
fast
whole,
rope down.
yeah, just rappel down the line or jump, your choice, and then he'll come pick you up when it's time.
Well, can't we just fly the raft out?
The raft can't even get through this forest. That's how thick it is. It'd be like trying to drive a jungle through, or drive a Jeep through, South American jungle. It's just not usually going to happen. You're talking about pulling out machetes and cutting your way through.
But it flies.
So you can fly over the treetops, and you're not going to be able to see in because the canopy's so thick.
Oh. All right, then I guess we're just gonna.
Like I said, he can set down in the lake. I mean, if you don't mind your boots getting wet.
I'm cool with, being. The cities interest me the most.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
I mean, I don't mind, gearing up and doing a foot expedition. We can, we can lower with grav belts, can't we?
Yes, you certainly can. I mean, you can reboard the ship with grav belts. And
Yeah.
I don't think any of your characters are like the size of Baron Harkonnen from Dune.
Yeah.
You don't need like 6 grav belts. You're not.
Be a lot cooler if I was.
You're not King Oleb from Pirates of Drax.
Well, I was going to make a comment about, is is there a ship in this crater that we need to go repair and take off before the volcano explodes? But
There, right? Yes. Oh no, high and dry. No. Um, sorry.
This,
No spoilers.
this doesn't use a basic roleplay system, so there's no size stat.
yeah.
Right. Yes. Right. Yes. We can only start playing Fatal. Are you guys aware of what Fatal is?
No.
Well, you have to measure your asshole.
Yeah. During character creation, one of the stats is that you have to actually roll to see what the diameter of your butthole is.
There have been a lot of suggestions for Fatal recently because recently someone resurrected a tweet that Jason Bowman, the game developer for Paizo, that he made in August, basically telling JD Vance that if he owns Pathfinder, please return it because he didn't make it for fascists.
Right.
And so somebody goes on the Pathfinder 2 forum and goes, after seeing this tweet, I've realized that the Pathfinder game is not for me, and so I'm asking people for suggestions for alternative game systems. And so people are going, well, you're not JD Vance, so that must mean you're a fascist. That seems to be the only option there. And so, yeah, if you're a fascist and Pathfinder's not for you, I'd highly recommend Fatal.
See, I would never make a statement that somebody can't. I write the Braunhaven campaign setting. I would never make a statement that somebody needs to return their books. Whether you're red or blue, it doesn't matter to me because your green spends the same way. So,
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm not saying that I'm in it just for your money, but I don't give a fuck who plays my game. Once I sell it to you, it's not mine anymore. It's yours. Do with it whatever you want.
I'm sure it originally came up because Paizo has quite a few iconic characters that are trans, and they've got, they've got. So I'm sure that's what originally started all this.
Yeah,
is that JD Vance was upset with something being too woke with Pathfinder, and so that is what triggered the request to please return any Pathfinder books you have. I don't write it for fascists.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't say that people need to return my books. That's just an absurd statement. Once you have it, it's yours. I have had people complain.
How much must you have to mind to try to find a fucking tweet from
no, man. It was all over X. Like, all you had to do was log in.
That, now that you mentioned that the Fatal links.
Yes.
I remember that whole little brouhaha. I don't remember seeing it reported in the news that he was pissed off at Pathfinder. I don't know why the news would pick that up.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of my thing too. Is how could this? Why did this get regurgitated?
I'm sure somebody did a Google search.
Protection from normal missiles lasts until dispelled, because that was a genius spell from first edition, and third edition they made it 1 minute.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Anyways, so Pappy sets you down. In fact, I will.
Oh, look, boys, there's cities here. That's what the map says.
That's what they're calling, and they're calling the lake cities because of the weird. They're weirdly the same shape and size. So they're from orbit and whatnot. They don't think that they are all natural.
Aren't they like the Predator symbol, kind of those 3 dots?
Well, maybe.
We need to see if they have dread-like things and claw faces.
So flying over this, Pappy kind of brings you over what the landslide zone. And it does immediate. So whoever wants to can make a electronic sensors plus education or intellect check. Bless you.
Thank you.
That's alright. I don't have it.
Oh, I know you don't want me to scan shit.
And you get a +2 from the ship.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Electronics.
He was looking at porn.
That's what it was.
He was looking
No,
at fatal rules.
I'd closed my character sheet, so I had to reopen it. 16. That should be good enough.
Sweet. Okay, so flying over the landslide zone, Sarda, you are able to pick up some really detailed scans. And so it is a mix of forest and tumbled boulders, gigantic pile of overgrown rubble that seems to have been blocking an exit here that went out to in this direction towards the northeast to the Menagerie Plains. There is still a small amount of river that can make it kind of through under the landslide or through cracks that basically forms what on the eastern side becomes the Big Marsh River. Terrain in the landslide zone completely unsuitable for wheeled vehicles or landing, and even the Vendara is going to have a problem finding a spot to set down there because it's just so rugged. There's no place for it to land and let people off unless they're just dropping out as you are planning to do it here. However, now that you're closer and you're 16, you're really dialing in those sensors. You are picking up that this doesn't look like radiation from radioactive elements. It looks more like a nuclear detonation. A bomb went off here. Radiation at this point has fallen almost to background levels in most of the high valley, but the landslide zone, you are still able to pick up what would appear to be an epicenter. Probably your estimation by how the background radiation levels have dropped down. I mean, in order to create a landslide this size, it had to be a fairly big detonation. Probably happened about 310,000 years ago.
And while we're exploring all that, the cities, as we get let out,
Mhm.
can we have the Designex go back to the landslide zone and see if it can get some real deep penetrating scans in there?
Yeah, it does
really
have a densitometer.
Really interested to find out if there's a ship down in there.
Well, sorry, there we go. I rolled my mouse wheel and it went crazy for a second. I mean, start at 16. It's hard to argue with a 16. Let's see. It says.
I mean, at the same time, I mean, I don't expect you to just add levels of that aren't there. It's.
Well, I'm digging through this. Yeah, you're estimating that this was a nuclear detonation of several megatons, at least. Densitometers and deep penetrating nuclear magnetic resonance scanners identify pockets of metal deep under the landslide. These include advanced materials and alloys that could not have happened naturally. How they occurred is impossible to determine. They've been crushed under megatons of rock and soil deposition. These materials would be virtually impossible to extract without a major mining operation.
Strip mining it is.
It's just strip mine. Yeah, we've got fusion guns. I mean, didn't somebody, like the last system we were in, didn't somebody come up with the idea to use the fusion guns to level a mountain. Now you have a reason.
Yeah.
But at this level of scan. I mean, that's all the information that you can really get. So you know somebody lit off a bomb here.
Got it.
And again, you're making me think there's parts of an advanced ship down there. If we see signs of droid in these cities and stuff, I want parts of their ship. Because they're more advanced than us.
So, well, so these three islands in the middle of the lake. As you get closer, and Pappy kind of sets down into the lake itself. In fact, the lake is shallow enough. I mean, the landing gear can't hit the bottom of the lake, so you're just kind of floating on top. But I mean, it's not more than maybe, you know, 6 to 10 meters beneath the landing gear. So this isn't a super deep lake. You're seeing that these clusters of islands seem at one point to have formed a large landmass. Thousands of years of soil deposition and water effects have buried what remains of. It seems that there was a small city here. You can see signs of buildings that are sticking up through the soil and the grass and the weeds.
That's some serious construction strength.
Yeah.
Right. And so here's a question: did you bring any additional scientists with you on your scout, or is it just you guys?
I mean, I'm sure we brought Stimpy.
I mean, are you? Yeah. I mean, you always bring Stimpy. He's like your mascot.
I mean, previously we've always brought scientists, but I don't know that we specify we were this time.
I mean, it's perfectly fine if you want to say that you did. I mean, you would have archaeologists and geologists and planetary scientists lining up.
It's the whole reason we're here, right?
Right.
Because we don't really give a shit. Get refueled and jump, as far as I'm concerned. But we're trying to make the scientists happy before they.
So, looking at the sensors and out the window, the scientists are practically jumping out of their dungarees, kind of excited because I mean this is obviously I was going to say man-made, but that's probably somebody built this, or sections of it. They're mostly forested. There are trees and jungle growing up, through the soil here in the middle of this lake, but it is obvious to you that these islands didn't form naturally. They didn't exist here before. Somebody dumped a bunch of rocks and then threw a bunch of soil on top of them. The initial look at it is very similar to like the ancient Aztec chimpadas. So they built cities on these raft-like structures in the middle of lakes and whatnot, and threw dirt on top of them so they could grow their crops. Very similar to that. You guys, does anybody have science archaeology, perchance?
No.
I know Bocephus has an ass ton of science skills. I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I don't have archaeology though, man, and neither does.
I've got space. That's it.
But, well, let me look at broad. So you have space. Oh, but so Bocephus, archaeology falls under social sciences, so you can make a social sciences 0 plus intellect or education, your choice.
Oh, it has to be a 0 social science?
It would be your broad skill, yeah.
All right. plus education.
Social
and stuff like
sciences
that.
is the broad skill. You have archaeology, economics, history, linguistics, philosophy, psychology, and sophontology as specialties under that.
All right.
10's still pretty damn good. Um,
That's just rolling with my education.
yeah.
The question I have is, even if we had to bring Deepnight's big gun, if we hit this landslide, you know, right up in here, how hard would it be to nail it enough that it drained this lake the fuck on out, so we could really get at all this stuff without fucking with the lake?
It'd probably take a couple of shots from a fusion gun, but you're anything that is inside this landslide. So that those advanced alloys that are detected by the densitometer would probably be obliterated. That's the downside of using the fusion gun.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah.
So, Bocephus,
I don't want to do that.
you look at the structures and whatnot that are sticking up out of the grass and weeds, and it is quite evident to you that whatever structures were built here, it wasn't built by what you would classify as an advanced civilization. So what you're seeing, oh man, it's been a while since I looked at this, but look at my tech levels. I can give you a better idea. Tech level. No, that's not at all. So you're probably anywhere between tech level 0 and tech level 1. I mean, you're seeing, I mean, it's hard to tell. It could go as high as tech level 2, but whoever built these were not what you would classify as advanced. I would say advanced, you would start thinking of an advanced civilization about tech level 4 industrialization, where all of this is primitive. TL0 through TL3 is primitive, and you're not seeing anything really super evident beyond tech level 1. Some of this it could be tech level 2, but that also could be sheer luck. But all of you can make a recon plus intellect check. Well, shit.
11.
Well, Mel and Sarda. So Mel and Sarda, and keep in mind, you guys haven't even left the ship yet. You're still looking out portholes and looking at sensors. But both Mel and Sarda, so Mel, you look out of a window and you see, for what all the world looks like, a fishing pole stuck in the water. And Sarda, you look out a window and you see it's not smoking, but you see the evidence of a campfire that maybe it could be 24 hours old.
All right. That's interesting.
You know what you got to do.
Yeah, we got to let our people that wanted to get off.
Let those fuckers out and then we'll be done. You can go live with the primitives.
Oh yeah, I was thinking, you know, life sense to see.
Yeah, that's true. Let's do that. I'll fire mine off. That way I can save Bocephus some psi points.
Yeah, I like to do the big whammy, and if I use 1 point, I don't have my full bonus to my skills.
I'm in the same boat because I have a 10 in psionic strength.
Okay.
So yeah, I got a 10.
See what that means. It means so you did a life detection, right?
Yeah, life detection just to see number and distance and.
So you get a bit of a migraine. So this entire area, no, you don't get a migraine. This entire area, you do pick up all. I mean, the range on life detection is friggin' huge.
It's like 5 kilometers or some shit like that.
Yeah, it says distant, distant, sonic, 501. Yeah, up to 5K. So it's 5 kilometers. And of course this meter down here shows 25 kilometers. So 5 kilometers. Wow, that's. I guess that's not as far as I thought it might be.
That'd be something about like that, roughly.
I would think, yeah.
So
5,
like
10,
every
15,
2
20,
meters
25.
is
So one of these is a, yeah. So
it goes like that.
yes.
All the way around.
So
it,
you pick up
right around 2 meters.
You pick up
the,
a bunch of life readings. You're picking up numerous fish, small fish that are in the pond. You're picking up some crustaceans, like what appear to be freshwater crabs, crawfish, things like that. You are also picking up one intelligent life sign. And it is coming from this island, the North Island.
All right. Let's go check it out.
Yeah. We might have to communicate. So we'll bring our diplomatic tools and shit.
Your diplomatic tools. A bottle of champagne and a box of cigars.
Well, we've got the translator thing.
Right.
Like a computer screen where we can show our Fallout videos.
Yes,
and stuff.
This is the Fungus Mungus. This is what total death and devastation looks like.
Yeah.
And you got a cartoon guy. Yay!
Yeah, he does that thumbs up all the time.
Yes. Remember to not let the fungus inside your vac suit.
Yeah.
If you if you have any itching, report it immediately. So you guys kind of get out, you hop out, and the scientists, of course, are. Oh, here's a question. I know that obviously Sarda is going to let Mel and Bocephus know that he's detected a life sign, and of course you're probably not going to tell anybody else that you're psionic. But are you going to let them know that there's somebody out here? Or are you going to?
Yeah, I'll just say that my scanners pick something up.
Okay. Okay. So
and based on the footprints, looks like something's on that island up north.
So the scientists kind of hop out, and they are bopping around these islands, and the archaeologists are digging up immediately, almost. Not even very far down in the soil. They're pulling up some artifacts. So most of the stuff that they're pulling up seems to be small, like bone fragments that have carvings on them. What appears they looks like they might have been originally tied to like a leather thong to be worn around the neck, or they'll pick up the remnants of arrowheads, things like that. You guys kind of head over towards the northern island and are poking around. You can make. Well, let's see here. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Um, all three of you can make a Recon Plus intellect.
13.
Jesus. I guess you beat 0, right? Well, with your 13, yeah, all of you got it. So 13, with a 13 Bocephus, you immediately see signs that you see some signs where some of these jungle trees, the trunks have they're very malleable, almost like a palm tree or like a rubber tree, the tall, thin rubber trees. They've been bent over and purposely lashed together with what appears to be like a hemp rope, or not necessarily hemp, but something woven together from plant fibers. And they've been tied together to form a fairly sturdy little like lean-to hut that somebody's been living in. It's just around the corner in some bushes from where this campfire sits, or old campfire. It's filled with charcoal. Um, uh, Mel, or rather Sarda, you kind of poke your boot through the charcoal, and you see as you poke through the charcoal, you see that at the bottom there are still some hot coals in here. So you were correct in your initial assumption. This thing couldn't be more than 24 hours old. Probably it looks like somebody, later in the day would come back and probably throw some fresh wood on it and start the whole thing up over again. But Bocephus, you guys see, or Mel rather, you see that there's a face poking under a large leaf, like a big green, large rubber plant type leaf, and kind of sitting there. And they are armed. They have a spear, a stone tipped spear, and they're kind of leaning down. They look, they look like this. And he's wearing, animal hide clothing, like a tunic style shirt that is made of like woven grass, and they're just watching you.
You have company.
This wave, like, we need to leave one really good metal sword here for them to fight over.
Stick it in a stone. Let them club each other until somebody can pull it out.
Like fucking Highlander.
Yes.
There can be only one.
Yes, there can only be one. And so you're gonna wave at him?
Yeah, I'll wave.
Okay. He.
I will try to do it in calming. No, I'm going to hold off.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to do a calming empathy, but I don't know. That might go a long way for this relations. Yeah, I think I will. Want to empathize him.
Okay. Go ahead and make your empathy check.
That's an 11, which I believe is a success. Pretty well.
See, I was playing.
Yeah, you only need a
British
6 for
in the
telepathy.
museum.
Yeah. Yeah, just a calming and feeling of safety, so he's not scared or worried, or on edge.
So, he, seeing Sarda's, just out of curiosity, actually better than I thought. Seeing Sarda wave, he kind of steps out. You see that on a kind of a rope belt around this animal hide furs that he's wearing, there is on a leather thong a stone knife that clearly has been manufactured. And he kind of steps out, and there is a obvious look in his eyes of immediate understanding, and he seems kind of he's apprehensive, but at the same time he's very excited by seeing you. And unfortunately, he doesn't speak, but he looks at you and does this, and he looks over at your scout ship, and he points, and he goes, and he points at you.
Well, I mean, we got to do something back.
Your translator comes back that basically tells you this isn't really a language. Coming from a computer, it's telling you this, that he's not speaking a language, but his arm motions and his eyes are showing you that there is an understanding. He's trying to communicate with you.
We got to communicate back.
Yeah. So how's he communicating? Is he?
He's basically grunting, and he'll pat his chest like an introduction of himself, and then point at you.
I'll start the translator listening, but I mean it'll probably be a while before it gets anything meaningful out of this. Yeah, I'll do the same. I will point at myself, and then I'll point at the sky. You know, the whole works. Point at our ship. You know, that's and I don't know if to go back to the ship to get food to offer him, because that's usually the best thing they give to people is food.
Right. Nope. Works for primitive people, cats, raccoons. I mean, I need to look at. There must be something for.
So again, this is a lore question. I'm assuming it's not that Traveler takes the position that everything uses the same set of amino acids, and so our food translates to their food, unlike, say, the Expanse.
No, it does not. In fact, here's a lore thing. So the Aslan generally cannot eat, just go and eat food on any world that they encounter, because it is not compatible with their system. Instead, they have to, in order to eat native food, they have to take a bio tablet that basically allows their system to process whatever food they're eating on another world. Generally, this is why on most Aslan colonies, you'll see there's a creature called an Awua, which is kind of a mix between a cow and a wild boar kind of thing. But anyways, they will have herds of these things because they can actually eat them. But no, they, like Aslan, cannot eat regular food that everybody else eats. Here's another one. Hivers get drunk if they eat cheese. So something to do with the process of making cheese, something to do with the fermentation process, causes them to get drunk, especially on cheddar. So if you ever meet a hiver and you want to get him fucked up, just feed him a brick of cheddar.
I mean, we can have Mel check him for worms.
That sounds.
So I've got some rubber gloves and a swab. Just go over there and get his rectal area. You know, a good swab.
So let's see. So Sarda.
It sounds not like a ton of fun.
Oh yeah, well,
I guess
it'll
this
definitely make you make some rolls.
I guess this would apply. Go ahead and make a diplomat plus social check.
Sure. Oof.
That's not terrible though.
Yeah, I rolled a 4.
That's deception, not diplomat.
Oh, it's the same.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah, they're identical.
I'll just lie to him. It's fine. Yeah, see? Yeah, still. So between Mel and Sarda, you are kind of able to. What are you telling him? Like, are you using the same hand motions or?
Yeah, I just introduce myself and say we're from the sky, and I didn't pick up a single signal other than him, right, within 5K in terms
Correct.
of like people.
No other intelligent sophonts.
And then I'll ask him, "Do you want to come with us?"
And so you're explaining. You and Mel are kind of Mel. What are you saying?
What am I saying?
Yeah, or
I wasn't
trying to
planning on
say.
saying, "Hey, would you like to come up to the ship? I got some candy inside." No,
You want some treats? Go over, start petting him.
I was trying to. All I was trying to do is make some sort of social contact that wouldn't be offensive to the guy.
Okay. So he kind of Sarda points at the ship, and he points up. We came from the sky, and he looks up at the sky, and he looks over at the ship, and we're gonna see. It's a 1 in. Oh wait, he gets more than a 1. He gets a 2 in. You can see on his face like the sudden, like the light bulb went off over his head. Like he gets it. He understands. And he looks up at the sky and he points. And then he makes a motion with his hand like this, and it kind of levels his hand out, and then he turns and he points at your ship, and he then points at you. And
What happens?
his
if
eyes
we-
are huge.
Yep.
What happens if we point to our ship and then do a flying like into a cliff and then an explosion and point to the landslide?
Make a diplomat plus social check.
Okay,
Damn, that's
12.
pretty good. So he
I got diplomat 1, and hold on, my social's only 8, so that's an 11.
he points over to the landslide, and he holds up his fist and he goes like that, and he goes and makes a flattening motion. He goes, "Ugh." And then he comes over and he grabs your arm and he points over through this thick jungle to a mountainside up here to the north. And he goes, "Ugh. And he takes the end of his spear and he kind of draws what looks like a cave in a mountain, and then he draws a line down, and then he takes his 2 fingers and he goes, "Ugh." And he walks it through the sand up towards this drawing of a cave.
I think he wants to take us up to the cave. That's what I think. I'll do my fingers, with my thumb out, so it's like a big penis, and I'll like wiggle the penis at him, and I'll walk, and up to the cave, and then I'll take the penis and go into the cave, and
he goes, "Ugh," and he nods like yes, and then he looks at Bocephus, and he grabs Bocephus by the shoulders and kind of pats him on the shoulders, and then he turns and he looks at Mel and Sarda, and he goes, "Ugh, ugh," and he points back at Bocephus, like he's confused.
Yeah. Well.
Not half as confused as me.
Yeah. I mean, I can swim in this water and I can go down. I think like 15 meters, no problem. I could explore this shit later, though. I think we want to just gesture to the cave and nod and just act like we don't understand that he's trying to ask us to do a complex answer on different species. I mean,
So he
I don't know how to fucking hand signal that.
he
I mean, you know,
he shrugs his shoulders and he looks at you when you point up towards the mountainside, and he says "Huh," and he turns and leans over and he goes inside this little hut that he's built, and he comes out with a spear for each of you, and he goes "Huh," and he gives you each one of these stone tipped spears, and he goes and he points at the jungle.
I'm not
he's
trying.
trying to tell us that we need. Oh well, yeah. I'm not going to fight with this. I mean, I've got a gauze pistol.
You could show here. You want to see what real technology looks
we
like?
got it. Pull it up over a waistband.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just keep
But
it. I don't even carry a holster. I just keep it in my waistband.
I mean, we could carry the spear like a walking stick. You know, maybe it'll help clear the area. I don't know. I'm pretty sure in our survival gear and all that, we surely one of us brought a fucking machete.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you would have. It would be right
Can we
here.
give him a machete?
I will show you what you got. You have.
I mean, this son of a bitch would probably cut the trail for us if we gave him a machete. You know, we could follow him and he could do all the cutting and we could use these spears like walking sticks. You know?
So yeah, you probably have a survival blade and standard hand weapons.
That hatchet.
I mean, you could have a hatchet too, or the field knife. I would imagine you probably all have a field knife. I would think that would be standard gear.
I want to give him. I want to take the hatchet and like grab a
static axe.
A static axe, yes. Chain axe. I want a chain axe and a monofilament blade.
I'm gonna take the hatchet and kind of grab a piece of foliage, you know, and like chop it at its base one time with it, just to show him kind of basically how it works. And I'm gonna hand it to him.
He is amazed.
Nod.
He is amazed, and he kind of compares it to his stone knife, and you can see the understanding. He gets that you are far more advanced than he is, but you are also picking up that he's not stupid. Like he can clearly observe things around him and usually figures it out, but that doesn't mean that he gets it right all the time. Just because you observe something doesn't necessarily mean that you understand it.
Yeah, my main thinking was that he's probably lonely because he's by himself.
He seems very lonely. Like he has already kind of latched onto you guys, but he is emphatic that you carry these spears. And the general sense is he's pointing at the jungle and emphatic that you carry these spears because evidently something in that jungle is dangerous.
All right. Well, let's go find what the dangerous thing is. Let's. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is probably a good spot to break. But
And you got to give him something too, don't you?
yeah, I have one for him. go? Yes, there's something
Yeah. And then when he starts walking in front of us, we just shoot him in the back.
Nice.
And then look surprised. Like, what?
We had no idea.
He is gonna shit his pants when I let off or either one of us lets off the Gauss gun.
Oh, hell yeah, man. We're fixing to fight a saber-toothed tiger of some sort on the way to this fucking cave, man.
Well,
I mean,
let me go grab a flame rifle. You could really see him get excited.
Hell
Fire
yeah.
bad.
Too bad my other character ain't here, because Ting would be lobbing grenades at whatever the fuck that came out. Because he's nonviolent. He doesn't use
He's nonviolent, so he
guns.
throws grenades. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will go ahead and break it here and pick this up next week on Friday night at 6 o'clock.
That was pretty fun. Thanks.
All
Yeah.
right. Have a good night, guys. I will see you next week.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Take care.
You too.